Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to go over some basic masking. The reason why you would want to do masking when you're doing stamping is because you want to have a particular image. You want to have something in front of that image and then something behind it, right? Without having all of the lines coming through it, for example. The reason why we do this is to create perspective with our 2D images. So, for example, this tree, because it's in front of these polar bears, looks like it's in uh it's further away, and these are clearly closer to us. Same thing here. So we're going to try and stack these. This is the very first time I've ever done masking, was on this example here. So this is what we're going to do today. I'm using a Lawn Fawn stamp set. Um, yeah, I have no idea what the name of the stamp set is, but Lawn Fawn does these adorable creatures, and they come out with similar ones every year. So that's what I'm going to use today. That's what I've got. So I'm going to use the polar bears. So it's got polar bears and foxes. I think they are like Arctic foxes or something to that extent. Some trees, a little Santa Claus. Create a little bit of magic here. So this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to create the night sky and yeah, do some grounding, do some background. This is my sloppy copy or the original copy that I had, because when you're doing masking, you want to have a bit of a plan, so that you know what you want in the foreground, so closer to you. Those things have to be stamped first, and then you want to plan like what goes further away. Those are the last things to be stamped. So the things that are closest to you and that you want to be the focal points or in the foreground, those have to be stamped first. Then you put a mask around them, and then you stamp the next images. So that's what we're going to work on today. So for my masking, what I'm doing, so you can't see it here, I've stamped my images onto, this is the 4-inch width mint tape from scrapbookers.com. It's very excellent. It's easy release. You can use masking fluid if you're somebody who has done watercoloring, things like that. You can just cover your image with masking fluid. The other thing, repositional stickers will work, and Gina K masking papers. There's lots of different masking products on the market. This, because I'm not using a ton of watercolor or a ton of coloring, so my images won't get super saturated on this. This is good enough for this application. If you are doing watercoloring or you're going to be adding a lot of ink to something, I highly recommend moving to like a masking fluid or something a little bit more like that. Okay, so basically what I'm going to be doing is I have stamped the images out onto my masking paper here. So this is again the 4-inch mint tape, and I'm going to be just fussy cutting them. For these particular ones, I don't have the coordinating dies. Um, when you have, oftentimes that's a good way to stretch your craft budget, is to just get the images and then you can fussy cut them if they're not too horribly complicated. Sometimes that's a good way to get a good quality stamps. Can do that, and then without buying the coordinating dies, and just fussy cut them out. So when you're fussy cutting, you want to make sure that you're moving the image. You keep your scissors straight, and you just move your paper. See, coming around the edge here. The other thing that's nice, particularly when you are doing masking, if it's a very complicated um, die cut that you're working, sure, go ahead and use the um, the die to cut it out. But if it's a fairly simple one, oftentimes when you're doing masking, it is good to be able to cut away some of the black, because you can get a much closer. I don't know if you guys can see the black on that, on the edge there. Because I cut down, these have fairly thick lines for this stamp. So I cut it about halfway because when you're using a die cut, you'll often get that little halo of white around it. And so when you go to stick that down, what ends up happening is you'll end up finding that your what's the word that I'm looking for here? That halo, you'll have a white edge around your coloring, right? So instead of having your coloring or your ink blending coming right up to the edge here, don't know if you can see, but right here, right at the edge of where it's coloring now, you can see where my night sky doesn't quite touch his nose there. So I can make that a little thicker. I can color him in here a little bit and make that a little bit thicker, but that's much more pronounced. Like it's not that noticeable. It's noticeable to me because I saw it. But your average person is not going to see that right here along this edge here with the tree. You can see just a bit of white where my mask was a little too big for when I was doing my ink blending. Okay, so if I were to die cut these out, there would be a much bigger white halo around them. Okay, so next part is I am going to take a bit of card here. So this is just some plain old card stock. This is just cheap card stock actually, because I want to create I'm going to create this the hill kind of thing that they're sitting on, right? And so I want to know what that's going to be. So I'm just basically going to go kind of like this a bit and then in and over. Okay, like that. So this is going to be the base, I think. And I want to keep a hold of this part if I can, because I can use that to mask off to draw the snow down a little bit. All right, now, so I'm changing up my design just a little bit from my original one. And I actually still have some stamps in here because, we don't always put stuff away. So before I go and jab myself with my fussy cut scissors, let's put that away. And I'm going to lift up this is my sentiment and my Santa Claus. Because the example that I showed at the beginning of the video was the very first time I've ever really masked. And I kind of wanted to check and make sure that it was going to work. Okay, so this is going to be my card front here, and I've trimmed it down. Was going to be a standard A2 size card. This is a card front, so I've trimmed it down to 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so standard A2 size is 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. Okay, so I'm going to put my paper down here in the corner, my cardstock, just a second here. Make sure that this is going to clip on. So I'm just going to hold this here. I'm going to turn this over and just clip the edges because my example was a little long. My mask here, it's a little long. Okay. Yeah. I'm just going to trim off the edge there. Yeah. All right. Now, I'm also going to, because I do have ink on my stamps from when I was doing my masking, I'm going to put my piece of acetate down so that I don't end up, but I don't know if you guys can, I'm off camera. Sorry. There we go. You're gonna get in the screen, in the shot there. There we go. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is where my snow line is. Okay. So now I'm going to put my mask in here or the piece of acetate, just so that I'm not getting too much ink onto my background here. Okay. And so now what I want to do is I'm going to place my snowmen. Sorry, no, polar bears. They're polar bears, not snowmen. Like that. Okay. And let's see, we'll lift this up and I want to see where the edge is. Because basically what I'm trying to do here is I want to make sure that their butts are down below the snow line. So I don't want them sitting right on the edge or on the top of the hill that I've made here. I actually want them to be down below the snow line. Because if you see here, I'll show you what happens when you don't. Look at it. It looks like his one leg here is floating off into space. This one's not so bad, but this one, it looks like he's sitting cattywampus, like kind of leaning a little bit to the left. So I want to have him down below so that those legs, so that that part is touching. That's the plan. So it's always nice when I have the example of the boo-boo in order to show you to begin with, right? So see here. Not quite. Yeah, let's go right about there. I think that's going to be pretty good. Whoops, choose button. Okay, there we go. And so I'm going to close this. We're going to lift this. Okay, and you can move this. And put the acetate to the side. And now I'm also just going to check and make sure. I don't want to stick these down, but I want to check and make sure that I've got everybody is down below the snow line, and they are. So now I'm going to take off this little mask, which is why I only used a little piece of mint tape to hold it in place. Okay, so I'm going to take that mask off, and I'm going to put this on, and then I'm going to stick that down right there. Maybe right there. There we go. Okay. And now I'm going to ink up my stamps. And I'm just using VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. I'm just going to ink them up nice, get nice good inking onto the stamps here. And I'm going to swing the door open over. And then I'm just going to walk my fingers across it, touching in place here. Lift, see, really good stamping. So I'm very happy with that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give my stamps a bit of a wipe off here. And I'm going to peel those off and put them to the side here because I won't be needing them again. I'm only stamping those guys once each. Okay, now I'm going to pull over the masks and I'm going to line these up and I'm going to stick down the mask so that it fits within, or pretty darn close within the outline of what I have cut. Well, it's not quite fitting there. Pivot him a bit. Pivot, pivot, pivot. Anybody ever seen that Fred's episode? Frost moving the couch. Pivot, pivot. Okay. Here's the other one. So this is the duo. And we're gonna line that up in there. There we go. Okay. First images are down. So I'm just gonna kind of touch them in place here. Now, to stamp my images, I did not use like on the masking paper, I used my Gina K because Gina K amalgam ink in Obsidian. It will dry more quickly. VersaFine is a pigment-based ink, so that will stay wet, particularly on a non-porous surface. So that's never fun, right? Okay, now based on this, what I want to do now is I want to have one of the big trees right here. But what am I thinking? What am I thinking? What am I thinking? Okay, so I want the little tree to be out front. Yep, yep, yep. And I want a little tree out front here. Big tree can go here. So that's what we're going to do next is I'm going to bring this. Oh, actually, I want to use because I've got ink on them, I want to make sure that I'm not going to transfer all of that ink onto my image here till I'm ready for it to be onto there. Sticky. Okay. So I'm going to put that down. And I am going to take, nope, it's going to have to be the little tree here first. Oh, this is why it's so complicated. Complicated. Yeah, I want, okay. So I'm going to do a big tree right here. Not that they're big, they're both quite small, actually. This is going to be a small tree, kind of right in this area here, I think. I think I will do the small one right in there. It can go a little higher, like so. Right, so now we're going to pick those two up. Yeah. Move that. Put this back down into the corner. Practice good stamping techniques. You want it down into the corner here. Okay. Check and make sure. Yep, that's where I want it. So now I'm going to come back in and I'm going to ink up my stamps. And this was doing it with a practice. So this is why it's complicated. You want to make sure that you're doing this right. Okay. All right. Now let's wipe these out. We're wiping. Give them a wipe. And so now I'm going to move my magnet. I'm going to keep that magnet on there. But now I'm going to add on a mask. So this is the larger tree. Just going to pop that on there. Press down gently. And I'm going to take one of the small tree masks. Pop that on there. Whoopity. Helps to have either a very fine set of tweezers or some longer nails when you're doing this. Very key, very key. Okay, so I'm going to lift these guys now, and now I'm going to work on the second set of the next set of stamping. Okay, so what I liked was I had a did the small one there. So I had done the large tree. Large tree had gone right there. Right? Happy with that. And then I'm going to do another small tree. I want the small tree to be yeah, small tree is going to go right there, I think. Yep, just off the edge. Okay, like that. I'm going to pick those up to the side. And we're going to stamp. So I'm inking up off to the side. I'm not sure if you can see that there, but I'm just inking up my stamps. Now I'm going to swing the door over and I'm going to give it just a bit of a walk. Okay, just adding a little bit of pressure, not a lot, not chest compressions. We don't need to be that hard on it. There we go. Okay. And before I get it on my fingers, I'm going to give these again a bit of a wipe. Just using a microfiber towel here for the in-between. And I've got a small tree mask right here. Here. Pivoted just a weensy bit. Like that. There we go. And another large tree mask. Whoops, shifted, which is fine because I'm not really needing to stamp any. I have one more tree I think I want to do here, but whoops, that's not on correct. Pivot just a weensy bit. There we go. There we go. Okay. Pivoting there, right? And now last set. So I'm going to bring in my acetate again. And I'm just going to just pop that on. So I think my last one is likely going to be a big tree that is going to be right here. Okay, so that should give me 5 trees, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I could do another small one here, but I think I'm pretty happy with that. I think. I think. So yeah, I think we missed the mark in order to be able to add that last one there. So we'll just do this. So this is going to change it up just a weensy bit, not too much, which is fine. Doesn't need to be a lot. And the magnets back. And we're just going to ink up. Alrighty. There we go. Okay. And like I said, I'm gonna quickly give this a wipe. So pull that off, and then I'm gonna add on the last mask. Okay. Now, this particular card and idea was inspired by Christina Werner. Christina Werner does these beautiful watercolors and like no line watercoloring and just some really beautiful. And she uses a lot of critters and these kind of things. And she had done this beautiful, gorgeous night sky that I was like, oh, that's beautiful. Just beautiful. Okay, so here's what we've got so far. So these are all of our everything underneath there has now been stamped. And even now you can see this is going to be a really lovely image, right? Um, but we're gonna so everything theoretically that is underneath those papers, underneath the mask should stay white. So now what I want to do is I'm going to take my snow mask, right? My hill mask. And what's really great here is you can see I have managed to get under everybody's butt. So that is good. Okay. So nobody's like flying in the whatever there. So it's good. Okay. So now what I want to do is I'm going to take this and I am going to use some mint tape and I am going to uh just basically tape that down so that I don't have to worry about it shifting while I'm inking, things like that. Too badly, anyways. Okay, so I'm going to hold that down and I'm going to lift this up and I'm going to fold over the corner here and I'm going to fold over the other corner here. This will allow me the space and the time to kind of do my thing for night skies and everything. All right. So I won't need that until we come back to do more for the sentiments. So I'm just going to put that to the side. Now I'm going to pull out my elements. So these are elements by Lavinia stamps. So I can move these guys over too. We're done with those stamps. So if you've ever seen, I'm going to create a night sky. And but what I would like to do is kind of have I would like it to have some kind of like a Northern Lights appearance. So the way to do that is to make it look like a hot mess to begin with. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I'm not kidding. That is what it's going to look like to begin with. But again, you don't want to judge anything until you're actually finished, right? So I'm using this is going to be Line Punch by Lavinia Stamps, Elements by Lavinia Stamps, Line Punch. This is a dye-based ink. And I'm going to ink up my brush and then I'm going to tap off into the lid. And for those of you that have seen this, I tap off into the lid because I can reuse that ink. I will often come back and add water and I can watercolor from the ink in my lid versus what I'm picking up. Like this is all going to be any ink that is now on my mat is essentially, I was gonna say garbage. It's not garbage, but I can't really do anything with it, right? Like I could spritz it and smoosh some stuff up, but that's not going to happen today, right? That's not where my mind is. That's not what the project that I'm working on is. So that's just not going to be happening. Okay. So I'm starting with Line Punch. So I'm adding in a little bit of green and in between, I'm going to give this a bit of a wipe to kind of clean up the little bit of the ink that's there. Now I'm going to move on to confetti. So I don't know if you've ever seen um, Northern Lights, but they're gorgeous in the nighttime sky. You have to have pretty cool temperatures in order to typically get um, uh, Northern Lights kind of thing or Aurora Borealis. It's one of the nice things about living in Canada. In Alberta when it's minus 20, 30 degrees Celsius or whatever, is that in the winter when it is that cold, we do get beautiful, beautiful um, Aurora Borealis. And it's one of my favorite things about living in Canada, actually. Um, and about winter. I'm one of those people who I actually do like winter. I know people think I'm crazy, but by and large, I don't like to be too hot. And you can never get naked enough in to be comfortable for me. Um, when it's hot, but when it's cold out, I can always put on more clothes, more layers. So I'm one of those people who likes the winter. The next color that I'm going to be using is Mermaid. So this night sky colors tend to be like purples and greens and kind of a turquoisey, and you get little bits of pink and those yeah, so those are some of the colors that you'll see in the night sky with the aurora borealis or the northern lights. So I'm adding those colors in. Now people will be like, what? This is one heck of a hot mess. I know, it's okay. Don't worry about it. This is the process of creating a northern lights background or a galaxy background. Works the same actually. So I'm just adding these stripes of color. Okay. Looks a bit like a rainbow actually, is kind of what I find. Then we're going to start to add in our other tones. Now, the first one that I'm going to go in with is a lighter blue, and I'm going to do that along the base. When you look at snow, again, snow is never just, I mean, it's white, but it's never like a, we'll always have different tones and different colors in it. But the snow will reflect and have a lighter color. So I'm kind of looking to have a bit of a halo along the snow line as it's reflecting kind of the moonlight or the starlight, that kind of thing. Okay, so the next color that I'm going to be using is Blue Atoll. Okay, and so I'm going to come from my mask, from my heel mask, this way so that I can make sure that it's not going underneath. And I want to keep my fingers on it so that it doesn't go underneath. Okay, so I don't get any ink underneath. And I'm going to follow that snow line there. It's like this. Some ink tapping off. So, and every time I tap off into my ink lid here, um, not only am I picking up more of the ink that was in there, but I'm adding ink for the next time that I want a watercolor. Mhm. So holding that edge, I want to make sure that that's not going to move. Also, when I start getting closer to here and I'm adding, because as we add ink, we're starting to soften up the fibers of the masking paper there too, right? So as we're doing that and doing too much circular blending, you'll notice watch to see if the tips of your trees or like their noses and things like that, those might start to lift. So when that starts to happen, I start blending from this side, just kind of drawing it upwards like that. Okay. So I've got a nice foundational glow there. Mhm. So from here, I am going to go in with Della Blue. And that one, nope, I'm going to use my dark blue brush now. Oop, maybe I'm not. Okay. Okay, and so from here, just to make sure that I don't have too much of the dark denim on here, I'm going to give my brush a little bit of a wipe. Okay. Now I'm using the same formulation. So this is my brush that I use for dark blue dye-based inks. So as long as it's a dye-based ink, I don't need to change or clean my brush. I just like to give it a little bit of a wipe to make sure that I'm getting the truer color. But I don't need to make like I don't have to change out my brush and everything. Now, if I didn't have other sets of brushes, um, I might have to change it or clean my brushes if I was trying to go to a pigment-based ink. A little bit more ink on there. But because I'm using the same formulation as dye-based to dye-based, that's what was on here before. As long as I'm using the same formulation, I'll be all right. I don't need to worry about that. Okay, I want to add a bit more ink on here. Into my brush, turn that off. Come in because I do want the sky to start darkening here. Those were coming up. Whoop! And see, I just lifted the nose and the tree of my both the bear and the obviously the tree. So what I want to start doing now is I'm going to start blending this way. Instead of doing the circular, I'm just going to start blending upwards instead of taking the chance that I'm going to continually buff over that because underneath my paper is just white, remember? Okay. And I'm going to. So now using these kind of blending brushes are great because they give you a softer feel But it does take a little bit longer because again, remember, it's much easier to try and take away color than it is to, or sorry, it is much easier to continue to add color than it is to have to try and take away color. That is not an easy trick, right? Okay, so you can see it's starting to darken up a little bit, so that's great. Okay. So now I'm going to come in with my much darker color, which is going to be the dark denim. All right, dark denim. Again, some ink here. Tap that off. And I'm going to start from the top to begin with, bringing that in and coming down. Catch this edge here. And a really good hint when you are ink blending is you want to start off on your mask if possible, or off on your surface here on the side surface, and then come in. Because again, you want your darkest bit to hit here, not get a giant splotch right in the center of where you're working. Uh, it's not that it's not fixable, it's just somewhat more complicated, is what I would say. Okay. And we're adding a lot more. So there's a lot of ink now heading into this paper. The paper is taking the ink. And this is just Accent Opaque, 80 pound. It's really nice and smooth. It's a nice white color. And I'm bringing the darker blue down to the edges here as well, just to make sure that it's kind of framing where we're at. And I do want to get just a little bit more along the top here. Okay. There we go. Okay, that's going to be it for the dark blue, I think. Now to, whoops, and yep, I did get it on my hands here. So now, in order to do your night sky, to give it that little bit more intensity, the best way to do that is to now take a purple. You could do black or purple. So the one that I have and that I used on the previous one is Violet Chalk. So we're going to start with that one. We'll see how it goes. But I did also pull out the Villainous Potion, which is quite dark from the Distress line. But we'll start with this and see. So now I'm just going to come in, because we're adding this purple on top of the blue. You can see here how it really does just kind of intensify that color a bit. Right? It makes that top edge of the card or of our image here really start to look like dark and black without being black. So I'll hold that up and you can compare the difference. Like look at this side compared to that side, right? So it focuses the eye of the beholder, which is you as the artist, right? And the person who would be receiving the card. You're telling them what's important. We want to we want to focus the image. Okay. Whoa, look at that. That is a nice card. That's so good. Tooting my own horn here, guys. Tooting my own horn. I'm very happy with how this is working out. Okay, so now before I go and stick my hand in this, I'm going to give this a quick wipe. Okay. Now, before I pull up my masks, what I want to do is I want to make this look like a starry night sky, right? Okay, so there's a couple of ways that we're going to do that. The first one that you can do, I don't know if you know what you have on hand, but if you don't have, I have the Distress Sprayer, which will give me some pretty decent sized, like if I don't do a huge drop, it will give me, and I only do, oops, I just closed it. It will give me, whoops, like if you go a halfway, it will give some pretty big, decent droplet sizes. Okay, and I want to whoop, pick that up. So Elements ink, much like the Distress inks, is also water reactive. So you can see here where we're starting to get that white a little bit on the background. If you didn't have that, if you don't have a spray bottle, what you could do is put some water, say for example, on a an acrylic block like this, and then take a paintbrush and just go whoop, 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 just off the edge there, that kind of thing there. And pick that up. So already getting some really cool spritzes there. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of white paint. So I'm going to use some acrylic paint, but whatever you've got, if you've got watercolor paints, white watercolor, I don't need a lot here. I'm just going to do a little bit. I'm going to add it onto my acrylic block here, and then I'm going to add just a bit of water. Not a lot, because I do want it to be quite opaque. So you would do the same thing with your watercolors, add water, but make it nice and thick, because I want this to stand out on the starry sky, right? And then I'm just going to come and bring this off the edge and go click, 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 like that. And what's nice is I often just do this with a paintbrush, but this way I've only kept my flicks here. Earlier, I had them all over the place. And I'm adding different colors because I want, the white will be closer, the water droplets will be further away. I want this to look like a night sky with thousands of stars, right? That's what ideally what I'm looking for. So now I'm just going to clean off my stamp block here, and I'm going to give my glass mat a bit of a wipe, and I'm going to do a true Corrine cleaning of the paintbrush, which is to put some water on my mat and smush my paintbrush into it like that. Give it a dry here and wipe that up. This is called, crafting in front of on TV, and I can't get or on a video, so I don't have my little. I don't often keep a. Would be a good idea for me to do though, but I don't often keep the what's the word I'm looking for? I don't keep a cup of water here for cleaning brushes, which would be sensible actually. And then the other thing that I want to do is I'm going to take some sheer shimmer craft spray. This is by Imagine. I think it's Amazon. Okay, and I'm also going to do a spritz onto my acrylic block here. And then I'm going to bring my card over. And again, I'm going to bring that kind of to the edge, and I'm going to flick it off. And what this will do is give shimmery stars. Right. So again, we've got three different kinds of splatter to give three different dimension for some stars. That's why we're adding so many different ones. Now, I have my Distress Mica spray stains. Like a silver one would be really cool. But I didn't shake it up beforehand, so that'll be a lot of shaking for you guys to have to wait while we move on. Hey, all righty. So that's cleaned. Paintbrush is good enough. Cleaned. Put that to the side here. Now, I'm going to give this just a bit of a dab. So you can see here where I actually ended up with some of the spritz of my water and then the white. It almost looks like a galaxy in the background. All right, now for the reveal. Are you guys ready? So this is hopefully, fingers crossed, everybody. Hopefully this has worked in the way that it was supposed to. So that we end up having a really lovely, crisp, white snow line and areas under the masks. So the first one we're going to pull off is going to be the snow line. And look at that. How adorable is that? So while I've got this up here still, what I want to do is I'm going to take, this is what I had cut off, right? This is where I had cut it off. So this is the opposite of that. So while I've got this here, before I pull off the masks, I'm going to line this up here, and I'm going to bring in just a little bit of, not the gray, but I don't know that I want to use the gray. So I'm going to bring in, and I just want to soften the edge of that snow. I don't want it to be such a harsh blue, like just all of a sudden white into blue, right? Which is why we did that little halo earlier too. Let's see here. Come on, move down a bit. Move down just a bit, just a bit. There we go. Okay. Because again, as I stated, white, particularly when you're talking about snow, is never just white. It will have a bit of tone to it, a bit of color to it, that kind of thing. Okay, we're going to pull that up. There we go. That's much better. Okay, so I'm going to put those to the side here, and I'm going to put my brush away, and we're going to start to lift. So you can see here where I've softened, right? So it's not quite so harsh. It's just got a little bit of a shadow. All right, so first one is going to be, this was the first one. So I'm going to pick up this tree here. And if these have not gotten totally saturated, you can keep them. Keep them with your stamp set, and then you don't have to cut them out again till the next time. Until they're so saturated that they won't hold any ink anymore. That's when you have to change them out. Like if they start to seep or have seepage underneath them. So cute, so cute, so cute. Now let's check out this guy here. Oh, yeah. So, and again, this is why you want to be using something that will release without tearing your paper. Okay. It needs to have a gentle release. But look at, look at the difference. And then we'll go in and we'll color them. But now we have our background, which is great. And this will give our background a little bit of time to dry, which is also good. And we'll just go in and we'll just gently lift the edges here. So how is everybody coming along with their Christmas cards? Are you ready for the holiday season yet? Getting started. So I'm filming this. This is the 7th of November when I'm filming this. And I put up my first holiday decoration today. So I'm going to try and, instead of trying to get it all done in like 1 or 2 days, I'm going to do a little bit at a time. But look at how cute. Now, even if I just left it like this, how cool would that? That would be lovely. Just do my sentiment here, call it good. That would be so cute. Could stamp my Santa Claus up there, even just this, because it doesn't even have to be a Santa. This could be wishing you a magical birthday, something to that, right? Like a winter birthday, but just adorable. Okay, but we're going to color them because I have my inks or my pens out here and everything. So I am going to be coloring them using my Ohuhu, which is just fun to say, my Ohuhu markers. And these markers are uh they're alcohol pens, alcohol markers, and I use them, and they're an inexpensive or a more, not inexpensive, they are a more affordable option than Copics. But what I started with when I started doing alcohol marker coloring was I started with tri-blends. I want to say they're Spectrum Noir tri-blends because on every single pen you have the light shade, the mid-tone, and your dark tone so that you can do all of your highlighting without having to futz with them. Now these guys, this is one full pen. So when I got them, I swatched them out. So I swatched them out and then also did what blends work together. And so that's what I'm going to be referring to here. And you can see, so then I write them down to see, sorry, that's out of frame there. So I write down the numbers when I find a blend that I really like, that I like to use, but it also then tells me what color is what, etc. Okay, so for the polar bears, because as I said, they are not just white, right? You're going to have highlights, you're going to have shadows. Oftentimes, actual polar bears will have like yellow undertones. So with these guys, I use some grays, and you know, they look pretty cute actually, like that. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And the three colors that I'm going to be using, then I will put them here: CG2, CG020, and CG Roman numeral 200. So I'm starting with my darkest tone, which is the CG2. And I'm just going to go in. So these ones have a brush tip and a broad tip. Okay? And they are a cost-effective alcohol marker if you're new. But like I said, I started with the Spectrum Noirs because I wasn't sure if I was going to like alcohol marker coloring. Turns out, though, I really do like it. I really love it. yeah, it's a great way. Now what I would say is I am by no means an expert at alcohol marker coloring. I just try to find some shading and figure, okay, yeah, that should be pretty good there. And that's kind of what I go with. Um, yeah, just imagining, okay, so if the sun or the light source is coming from this way, where would the shadow hit? Like right here underneath their ears. Just above the ear would also have some, right at the shadow of the nose here where it meets up. This ear is kind of overhanging this nose, so there would be some shadow there. A little bit of shadow right here where the one head is going above the other head, right? Those kind of things. So very, very simple shadowing right here underneath the scarves. The scarf ruff, whatever, would give some shadow there. There would be shadow right here where, I don't know if that's a leg or whatever that is, but also where the two of them kind of come together. Be a little bit of a shadow right there. Um, so again, coming in underneath the scarf and figuring out how the shadow from the scarf would throw the light source. And then probably under the butt would have a little bit of a shadow, right? Because it's going to be sitting furthest away from the light source. And that's basically what I've done. When I was practicing, what I would actually do is set my cell phone up and have the flashlight on and then kind of have the flashlight kind of going this way or whichever, like if I wanted the sun, like if I was doing a moon and the moon was over here, then I would set my flashlight over there and do the moon and then see like where were all of the areas where the light hit and then kind of go from there. That was how I started practicing. So the next color that I'm going to use is the CG Roman numeral 200. There we go. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to go from the areas of the where I already put the darker tone. So I'm just going to come in from there. A foot there. Kitchen. So, and when you're doing alcohol marker coloring, like it's really good to try and do flicks, a flicking motion, which will help it blend. But sometimes I don't always manage to get that, and that's okay. Again, I'm by no means a professional at this. I just like to color and I like the images, and so that works for me. It gets the color down fairly quickly. It's also why I chose the polar bears because they're kind of a white. I don't have to futz with the like the fox would have, you know, different oranges and browns, etc. I'm just doing these guys here. Okay, so I want that to carry out a little bit more. Okay, carry this shadow out here. A little bit of shadow from this ear. Come that way. Yeah, down here. Lick, 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 lick. All right, so that was that color there. Now we're going to go to the CG 020. Let's see if we can out there for you. I don't know if you can't zoom in close enough for you. Now with my lightest tone, so I tend to go darkest. When I first started learning, I would go lightest to darkest and then back again. So lightest to darkest, like light tone, mid tone, dark tone, or whatever, shadow tone, whatever you want to call it there. And then back. So dark tone, mid tone, light tone, right? Is often what I would do. Now I start and I'll go the dark tone first, and then I will finish with my lightest tone. So dark tone, mid tone, and then my light tone. And my light tone will typically go over everything that I've already previously colored in that shade, like that shade family, because this lighter tone will then help bring all three colors together, three, four, however many colors you like to use. Okay, so those are going to be the polar bears. Okay, so you can see how adding that little bit of tone to them has actually helped them pop off of the white of the snow, right? So that's kind of good. what am I going to do next? Let's do the tree trunks because I'm not doing anything really fancy on them. In fact, I have to remember to color those ones later because I forgot them earlier. And I'm just coming in and I'm just adding the brown. I'm not going to do shading on these trunks because they're very small. But I do want to make sure that my tree trunks are brown. That tree trunk is right there. Tree trunk is right there. There we go. Okay. Tree trunks have been colored. So, and with these particular markers, what I've done is when they go into my holder, I like to, when I figured out a combination that I like, I'll put an elastic around them so that I know, oh yeah, those are the colors that I like and they work well together. So I don't have to re-go and try and sometimes then I don't always have to pull out my swatching. Okay. So the next one that I'm going to do is my trees. And I am going to start with, think, okay, my G8 is the lightest one. I can't remember if it's G2. I think that's the one that I want to use first. Right. Let's see here. Yeah, okay, I think I'm going to start with my G3, then we're going to go to a G2. Uh, no, I'm lying. G2, G3, then to G8 is what I'm going to be doing. Okay. So, and you can see here that I'm not putting the caps on. When you're using alcohol markers, every time you put your cap on and then pull it off, it creates a vacuum effect in the tube here. So it pulls extra ink to the tip of your brush. So when you're doing that, you end up getting you get too much ink and then you get these big sploogies, which is never a fun thing. The nice thing is with alcohol markers is you can fix it, but I mean, nobody likes having to do that. It's possible to do it, but it's a challenge. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. So I'm going in with my darkest tone here, which is the G2, and I'm just going in under kind of the branches area here, and also kind of where his leg is. That. And we're gonna come in this, and I'm just following the edges. Here. Okay, so that's going to be that. So if I know that I might have to use them again, I don't close them. I'll leave them just kind of open a little bit. And now I'm just going to add in, I'm bringing in kind of this, the next tone. And I am hitting just kind of the top of the tree a little bit to add that in, and then bringing it up from the bottom because I want a little bit of this tone. But again, the lightest shade is the one that's going to bring it together. So I don't want, just kind of just bringing the edges together. Adding it in these spaces. The other thing that's really nice that I have found about alcohol marker coloring is because again, these images are quite small, right? So there's not a ton of space. So you can get your coloring done fairly quickly. But you can have some pretty deep. Now, is it always worthwhile to do 3 tones in such a small space? No, it's not. But that's a personal preference, right? Like you don't have to do that if you don't want to. And I think I'm pretty good on those. So I will close those. And now I'm going to go to G8. And now, again, like on the previous ones, I'm going to take my G8, my lightest tone, and I'm going to go over everything that I've already colored in the green just so that it will help that alcohol ink move because it's adding the ink, so the liquid into my paper, and by saturating it, it starts to help those colors to kind of move together a bit. Okay. Here. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, these three colors together. So I'm going to hold that, put those together and put them aside. All right. Okay, so here's where we're at so far. Okay. And I am going to use, so I'm going to do this. I've got this really nice kind of purpley color. So it's a kind of a purpley blue, B350, B380, and B340. And this one you can clearly see on the pens which one is the darkest one. So I'm going to be starting with the 380, going to the 350, then to the 340. Okay, and I'll do this. So for this one, I'm going to catch just up here, right underneath the edge of where the collar of the scarf would be. And I'm going to do the same right here. And in that area, a little bit and a little bit, not a lot here. Okay, for this color, it's a very intense color. And then we're going to 350. And here's where I'm going to bring in a little bit more. Again, I think that often, now I could be wrong again, because I'm not, coloring. I like to color. And I kind of go with what I think looks good. But I tend to think that your mid-tone color is the one that you're going to utilize the most. In general, that's going to be your most of your coloring, because you're going to have a little bit of shadow. Now, some people can go really in depth in the shadow and also in the light, but your mid-tone is kind of where it brings it all together. So it's cute. And I have this really nice set of greens, kind of a greeny, well, it's actually kind of a greeny turquoise color. And there's four of them, but I'm not going to be using all four colors because it's a very small image. So I'm going to start with my G4, and that's going to be my shadow or my high, yeah, my in-depth color, right? So my this is where I'm going to add the shadow tones. And we would have this kind of a fold right there. And then there's this line right here. And we would also have a little bit along the bottom, kind of like that. And a little bit further here, like that. Okay. You're right there. Okay. Now, next color down should be the G360. And from here, I'm going to flick from the shadow. And we'll have some shadow right here. Continuing on where that shadow is, a little bit more here. A little line right there. Okay, now for the last one, this is going to be G340. And just again, same. I'm just going to go over everything that I've colored, catching all of the white spaces, obviously, but everything that I've already colored in order to help those colors now move together. This is the final part that will bring all three tones together, just like that. Hey, oh, this is looking really sweet. Just so adorbs. Okay, and last one that I'm going to do is some blues here onto the side. Oops, that was supposed to go in with those. If I have a large area, this color works really well with these four. Okay. And so again, we've got, so PB6, PB8, PB7. So this PB6 is quite a bit darker, I believe, than the PB8. So let me just confirm. So I've got, this is my scratch pad over here. Yeah, so that's the PB6. So that's what I'm going to go with first, PB6. Yeah. In here, we're going to have a little bit of shadow from where the two are touching, like that. And a little bit of shadow coming in from where the tree is as well. Okay, next color down is going to be PB8. And we'll do that, I think. Yeah, catch that. Catch that edge right there. There we go. All right. The last color down is going to be PB7. So again, same as when you're getting your new stamps, stamp pads, like ink pads and everything like that. You want to make sure that you are swatching these out to see what you like. The benefit of getting Copics is that there's somebody who's already done all of the work. You get a, like, you can get a hexagon chart, and they've been around for so long that there are so many people who have created these really beautiful swatches and ink blends that go together. Who are fairly new. I think they've only been on the market for like five, six. Well, I've only known about them for about 5 years. And so you have to try them out because they don't all work the same. So here we are. Look at how cute that is. So adorable. Now, what I want to do is I want to make sure that these things, despite the fact that they're sitting in snow, they would still be grounded, right? So if you've watched the Lavinia videos, we always want to come back in and we want to add, they're going to have just a bit of a shadow, right? Whatever their, um, whatever the light source is they would still have a bit of a shadow that they would be throwing. So we're just going to come along from behind. I'm just going to add it of a shadow there. So this pen is BG3. So it's which is a blue-gray, blue-green 3. So you can hardly see it there, but just, oh, look at that actually looks just like a shadow, right? See, I've got my light source there and light is coming this way. There you go, shadow. So that's what we're going to do is we're just going to add just a bit. So just under the butts, just under the bums, they're going to be throwing a bit of a shadow. So Mama Bear here, going to have a bit of a shadow. Little baby bear, smaller shadow. But also the trees would also throw a bit of a shadow, right? This is how you start adding in that little bit of perception and depth, right? We will come on a little bit here, and this one's going to have just a little bit there. And I think there can have just a little bit. Oh, that's good. Oh, I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Okay. So this is going to dry back a little bit, but you can already see just how well the shadows are working in there. Okay, so we're almost finished. Now, my last step that I want to do is I'm going to add on our sentiment. And so I'm going to bring in my stamping platform again. And I am also going to bring in the acetate because now I've got all that. I'm now almost finished. I really don't want to muck it up now, right? But I also want to have my acetate on here because it will also help me. So it's going to protect my work surface, number one. But number two, it's also going to help me line up my sentiment because my sentiment is this kind of straight line, but it's in a couple of pieces here. So I'm going to, why is that? Apparently, I've got a lot of water and whatnot on my on my card front here. Okay, so wishing you, and I'm just gonna line it up on here. Wishing you bonk, a magical whoopee. Come on, very sticky. A magical Christmas, or a magical birthday, or a magical holiday, or just sending happy thoughts, whatever. But because I am going to stick on the Santa Claus up there, I am going to make this wishing you a magical holiday because, how cute is that? Okay, so there's my Santa Claus. Kind of like I'm kind of going over that moon there. a little bit. Let's get them going a little high like that. And we're gonna pick that all up now, like that. And put my acetate to the side. I'm gonna put this back in, like that. Stick this down like that. And I will pull this over so you guys can see me inking up here. I'm gonna pull out my VersaFine Clair because I do want a really good impression. And utilizing a pigment-based ink, which will help go into, which will give me nice crisp coverage and crisp detail for my sentiment. All right, we're gonna swing that door open or over, and we're just gonna give that a nice little finger walk to make sure it's touching down on everything there. And I think my sentiment went a little wonky, but that's okay. It's good. And I do want to restamp so my sentiment came out really good, but it is crooked. Oh well, whatever. I don't care. I won't work with it. It's handmade again, right? Okay. But I do want to stamp my Santa Claus again, just to get a really nice crisp black. There we go. Okay, so before I do this, I want to make sure I'm giving these guys a wipe so that the next time I come back, they're hopefully not. And also getting ink on my paper. Okay, so I'm gonna put this to the side here for a moment. And I'm gonna show you here what we've done. Look at how adorable that is. Oh my gosh. So it's a single layer card. I'm gonna stick it down to a card front. And it's here. So we could do white. We could also do, this would be pretty. Okay. But we could do it on navy. How pretty is that, right? That's cute. Or we really want it to pop because we've got the white. We can also do it on white. Ooh, actually, you know what? I like it on the navy. I'm going to do it on the navy. So let's pull out. So I'm just going to adhere this down. Now it did get a little warped from the water that we were doing, but I think that I can just use some liquid adhesive on there and it should adhere very well. Shouldn't be that big of a deal. So we're going to do this. Yeah. Okay. And I'll pull out my liquid adhesive, which of course is Bearly Art glue or adhesive. I have put it into the replacement bottle for my my precision glue press from my Sweet Petunia, which I really just love. And yeah, but the Bearly Art glue is the one, or the adhesive is the one that I prefer. It does come with Nouveau, like a full bottle of the Nouveau Deluxe adhesive, which is great. It's very good. I just find it very thick to use. And this one I find is works well enough to adhere without having to be like too ooey, right? Okay, so there we go. We've got one layer card. Now, if we wanted, we could do some sequins or some like some knights, if you've got some jewels to do some stars and things like that on here. But what's really lovely about this is it's a single layer card, very easy to mail, has no other like depth or dimension, and it's adorable. So we've got masking. So the reason why, again, so the reason why we masked is you can see here, look at how the depth, because this tree is in front of the polar bears. The polar bears are clearly behind it, makes it look like it's a little further away. Same thing. This one here, we stamped it and it's closer to us. So it gives perspective, gives a bit of depth to it. Same thing as what we have over here. So again, this polar bear here, you can see his foot is in front of the tree. So this tree is in front of him. So he's quite a bit away from that tree. Same thing here. This is covered as well. And this tree also at the front, covering that up. So it gives us just a little bit of perspective, which is helpful when you're dealing with 2D images, right? Look at that night sky, though. That is a gorgeous night sky. So these are the cards today. This is the class. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. If, you know, by all means, please like, comment, subscribe, keep your comments kind. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them if I can. Let me know if there's something else specific that you would like to see or like me to try out. Happy to be doing that too. Yeah, I will have all of my my buy me a coffee if you enjoyed the class and feel like you would like to make a donation towards myself and towards the cause kind of thing. The link will be in the description. And yeah, I will see you guys for the next installment. We're getting closer and closer to Christmas as these are coming along. So yeah, thank you so much, and we will talk soon. Take care. Bye.